Welcome to Minor Disturbance Radio, episode 13, and this is what we're going to do this time. We've got a whole kind of different format. We're kind of changing it up a little bit, trying to be a little bit more interesting. You know, like the last episode, episode 12, was really uneventful, but one of my favorite episodes.
Really?
And, a lot of the feedback that I get from people, really, after watching episodes, like, the fun parts are where you're just kind of telling funny stuff. You know, you're talking about stories or the real life shit, or your perspective on a certain story, you know, and not really so much the music aspect of Minor Disturbance Radio. So,
Excuse me.
Nice. But anyway, tonight, episode 13, we've got Travis in the house again, and Jeff in the house again, and we're going to try to keep it together somehow here.
I've already, queered the deal because I started belching into the microphone before you were even done with your intro, you know. So
Right.
I'll try not to derail you too much this evening.
Right. And we're going to add a couple new segments to the show. One being, you know, I'm going to put up a question or something that people, you know, because we want the listeners to be more involved in the episodes. Mm-hmm. So I kind of go on my Facebook thing and I ask a question or see if anybody has any questions.
Right.
And so we'll have that section of the show. So if people want to ask, and I don't care what they want to ask, you know, if they want to ask, you know, why I think I'm so special to have a radio show or a podcast, they can ask anything they want. Or why am I so ugly? Or why haven't I cut my hair yet? Or
combined?
Any of that
all
shit.
Those.
Combined? 26 inches. Most of it's Brian.
And you know, I spend most of the time in between episodes of MDR, you know, completely mind racing, thinking of things that talk about, and I go through it in my head. You know, and the bottom line is, this is really exciting for me to do. And you know, everybody has their thing that they look forward to doing, and really in my life, it's boiled down to, well, I love my family and my kids, and that's great, and all that. But you know, I get to sometimes play in my rock and roll band and feel that emotion and that vacation from life. And anymore, this MDR thing is really, you know, it's made me be really introspective of myself and want to be open. I got to decide, do I want to be really me on this thing, or do I have to suppress myself? You know, what things can I say? What things can't I say?
I think you've done a real good job of being yourself on it.
I'd hope so. Although there are some times where I kind of censor myself a little bit because you don't want to offend. And, you know, in this small pond of musicians, it's really easy to offend people,
Sure.
you know. And so when we're playing music on the show, there's all kinds of these things that come up. Say when we play a song by a band that's a local band. Now we're in a position that are people expecting us to say what we think of it afterwards?
Right.
And in not all cases am I going to really, you know, like it. Because for example, if a rap artist were to send me something they wanted to play on MDR, would the audience be turned off that I played it? And then would it be, well, Brian, he'll play rap. This ain't about rock and roll. This ain't about metal.
Right.
I guess that's where the confusion is.
Well,
and
you know, if you try to, you know, operate outside whatever, you know, people think the purity of the show is, then you're gonna, you know, obviously gonna alienate those people. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that your rap song had some super thick, distorted guitars in it. You know what I mean? Like, it was like they were rapping, but yet it was somehow metal. Which, I mean, we've kind of been exposed to some of that.
So are we agreeing that this is somewhat of a rock and roll metal podcast then?
I think so.
Because when I put the label of local music on it, it kind of, the first few episodes, people were saying, I'd like to send you my stuff, but it really doesn't fit into your format. And I'm like, format?
Right.
My show is a format.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, we've changed it several times.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, and we have played local acts, like that Corey Booth project.
Mm-hmm.
Was that...
Yeah,
that wasn't metal, but
I thought that was
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
But it was
that was
rock.
great.
I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm saying, instead of just saying, metal, you know, I mean, maybe the thing is just it's rock and metal. And, you know, I mean, I know it sounds strange to say it, but rock includes everything from, you know, the hardest core death metal that you can possibly imagine, or the Continuance, you know, and everything as light as Air Supply, you know what I mean? Right. Everything, you know, you don't think of it that way. Neil Diamond. I mean, even though those things are really inhabiting more the pop side of rock and the lighter rock idiom, I mean, it's still rock. I mean, it's still got the right kind of core elements, and I think this show is big enough. I think our tent's big enough to house all of that art.
Cool. Well, you know what? Okay, I wanted to go over a couple things real quick that have been happening in my world, and I like I say, when I'm brainstorming in my head, I'm thinking, well, this would be interesting to talk about on the show. And then when it gets time to do the show, some of the times I'm like, the cameras are on and the mics are on. Like, we look stupid.
Yeah.
Are we looking like buttholes? You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. So, but I just wanted to kind of go over this past weekend for me. Being in a band, being the singer in Dive Bomb and in Third Rail, both '80s tribute bands.
Right.
And I had to, let's see, what was it? Friday night we opened with Dive Bomb. We opened for Bret Michaels at Rascals.
And how did that go?
It was an interesting thing because, Travis, you know how, first of all, when you're opening for a band, you're going to get, you're the last thing that they're worried about, right? We all understand that.
It's like the understanding is that the reason why you're cool tonight is because somebody else way cooler than you decided to let you ride on a little bit of their cool. Don't get full of yourself.
No. Yeah, exactly. But I've done that so many times. I mean, I've been in this game for years and years and years, and I've opened for lots of bands. And we talked about this in the last episode where, is it really beneficial to your band to be doing this gig, or is it just, are you just opening for it so you can say we open for this band, you know?
Right.
And I think a lot of bands get caught up in that, like, we open for this band and this band and this. They have a list of them, and I think, well, you still haven't sold more than 100 CDs.
Right.
So did it really benefit your band at all? You know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, Electra Recording Artists Slayers opening band.
So, but for our situation, for Dive Bomb, who hasn't
Def
played...
Jam, I'm sorry, it was Def Jam.
Def Jam, yeah.
Who hasn't played many gigs in the area and is a new band, what better audience than rabid 80s hair metal fans that are willing to pay $75 a ticket to see Bret Michaels?
I think that's legit.
So when I got thinking about doing that gig, I thought it's got to be a win-win because we're going to be playing all that 80s hair metal stuff, you know, in front of a bunch of people that are all
thirsting for it.
Yeah, they didn't just walk in like, what's going on tonight? Oh, some band's playing, you know, and like, oh, I don't like this crap. They all paid $75 to get in the door.
Right.
Because it's Bret Michaels music. And then I realized that, well, we have to cut half of our set list out because a lot of it's poison and stuff, you know.
So that's got to go.
And then they said, well, there's not enough room on the stage for keyboards. So then there went another 5 songs.
And half your sex appeal.
And, and so I walk in, you know, because, you know, when you're playing a gig for musicians, a lot of times it's a big day. You know, when you're a hobbyist like me at this point in my life, I'm a hobbyist at it. Yeah. You know, I'm going, well, what am I going to do today? Well, I'm going to go play a concert, and I'm going to open for Bret Michaels. You know, and that doesn't excite me as much as, and it used to. The 14-year-old boy that was sitting in my bedroom learning to play rock and roll music would be like, are you serious? You're going to be playing with these guys and these guys? I forgot all about that, and I had to stop for a moment while I was there and kind of take it in and go, Brian, this is kind of cool. You get to see the behind-the-scenes things of what's going on and how it, you know, it works.
Right.
You know, and so I roll up there, and I look at the stage, and they wouldn't let us in until, they weren't letting anybody through the door until, you know, they said it was cool. And I'm not. And see, this is what I'm.
So are you saying they pulled down the iron do-rag and like you know, like made it so you just had no access?
No, and like I say, please. If you know Kenny at Rascals, I'm not ripping on your club at all. I love Rascals.
Yeah. No.
But I don't know if they'd be comfortable with me saying the ins and outs of how it really works. You know what I mean?
Because pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just all.
And speaking of the man behind the curtain. So when I get there, the first thing I see, we come in the door, I'm carrying my duffel bag, you know, with my rock clothes in it. And I kind of go in, you know, I got my hair down. I want to look cool for the roadies, you know what I mean? I want them to know that they're dealing with the real shit for opening bands, you know, tattoos showing you. Come walking in there and they're on stage, you know, the roadies are up there playing through their instruments, trying to play whatever song they can do. Right. And I look, and there's 2, what are they called? Stage scrims. They're the freestanding screens that have artwork on them. They're like a backdrop, but they're freestanding on either side of the drums, right?
Right.
And both of them is a big close-up of Bret Michaels going...
Oh, nice.
with the hat and the
Saying
and I'm going.
duck-facing.
And the first thought that went through my head is, please tell me they're going to cover that shit up when we're playing. Please, I don't care. We'll put the drums on the floor. I don't care wherever you set us up. I don't care.
What are you
but
talking about, man?
cover
That's your magic carpet of coolness back there, man. That's what you're riding on, brother.
Yeah, but at the same time, Bret Michaels is in his bus going, I hope they don't think they're playing with my pictures on the stage. Cover that shit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So, because they did too. As soon as they were done with sound check, they put black sheets over that. I was like, oh,
Really?
thank God. And Bret Michaels was like, you ain't getting my pictures, bitch. So, anyway. And they did too. And, getting back to the whole logistics of how you're treated when you're opening for a band. And that stage isn't really that big.
Right.
So, their crew wanted to have their stuff set up, and obviously it's Bret Michaels, man. They're gonna want to get their shit set up, get sound checked, everything's perfect, everything's gone through a million times over. It's where they want it. Don't move anything.
Right.
And that's how it works.
Right.
Stay out of our way. You guys could play up here, but don't touch anything, and don't fuck it up because it's already set. We're not moving anything.
Right.
Don't ask us to move a mic. Don't
Right.
ask us to move anything. And that's kind of how it was.
Yep. You got plenty of inputs.
I was talking.
Okay, so was there room really for 2 drum sets up there?
No, there wasn't. There wasn't. And, they set their drum set up in the center, and then they had their amps all the way out behind the scrims. So what you're seeing is at the front of the riser, if you've ever been to Rascals, at the front of the riser there, the drum riser, that's where their scrims were parallel to that.
I see.
Oh, all right.
So they had pushed the stage all the way out to the front of the riser. So you have another 5 feet from there
Right
to
around
the
there, yeah.
stage, right?
So is this place the drums in the middle and then situate yourself on either side of the drums
They
to play
wanted
your
the
show?
we had our drums on the left side angled out in the corner. So that as you looked at the stage, it was drummer, bass player, singer, guitar player.
Limp dick.
I know. But I told myself, I said, my drummer is good enough. I know
Yeah.
Matt Finn's a good enough drummer.
Absolutely.
It's not going to take but one song, and nobody's going to care.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as
You know
that
what I
dude
mean?
starts playing, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, right, yeah, that
it
guy."
Yeah, it don't matter where you
Yeah,
put us, man.
exactly.
We're gonna kick
You're gonna
ass.
fucking kill
That's
it.
kind of the attitude
Yeah.
that you have to have. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, go ahead, put us wherever you want, man.
Well, it's
You know what I
great.
mean?
Well, it's great when you not only have to have it, but you can actually support it. It's the whole Muhammad Ali thing, man. It ain't bragging if it's true. You know what I mean? If the guy's gonna come out and fucking destroy,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It is. You're right. It's not gonna matter, man.
Yeah. So we came out and we did the best we could. And the cool thing is the sound guy was our guy.
Oh.
Excellent.
Chicken Boy?
Oh, Chicken Boy ran
Yes,
sound.
absolutely. And
Eric Kranz.
Yeah, every time that we're there, he takes care of us. Remember we were talking about how you have to have your sound guy and they have to know
Sure,
when to pump
right.
whatever it is that your gel is about your music. You
Yep.
got to make sure that the sound man brings
Yep.
it out.
Yep. He
And
turns on the delay on all the high notes.
every scream I did, nice big delay for me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It made me sound,
Yep.
it was 80s stuff, so he
Yep.
made it sound good.
He knew what to do.
And usually when you're opening, you don't get shit. You
Nope.
don't get any effects, nothing.
Nope. You're
Nothing.
screwed.
You're lucky if you have a mic.
Is it because of the sound guy or because of Rascals?
Well, both. I mean, Rascals, when I took the gig, I told Kenny, I said, if we take the gig, just promise me we will not get fucked on sound.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because the last thing I want to do is go play in front of somebody for little or no money and work that hard
Right.
and sound like shit.
All right, you got kick, snare, direct bass, and vocals.
Right. It's like going to a fine restaurant.
Right.
You order, and the guy goes back in the kitchen. You hear pants, and they bring you out like a limp fucking bologna sandwich. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, all that for
Really?
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
And then the dessert is fucking fantastic.
Right, the dessert's like, So that's what I was looking at it like, but the gig, as soon as I was nervous about it. It was a weird setup. I don't think that. Rascals hasn't had, I don't think, that big of an act.
No.
I mean, Bret Michaels is famous.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. That's a lot of money.
Well, yeah,
Definitely.
that guy's filled places the size of iWireless Center. I mean,
Absolutely.
he's a big deal.
Absolutely. And here he is at Rascals. And one of the first things that the roadie guys that were setting up, because they throw their weight around a little bit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
These guys that are touring with the
touring
nationals,
guys. Oh, yeah,
'cause
yeah.
they know they got your fucking
Absolutely.
ass.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
expecting
for
you to
sure.
come in like, what do you want us to do? Is it okay if can I
Yeah.
step this way when I'm done talking to you, or should I turn this way? You know, they almost think that you're gonna feel like that. And the one guy came up to me and he goes, he had an accent or some shit, and he goes, you know, well, we're not used to playing rinky-dink places like this. And I don't know what accent that was, but I just
Really?
made it up.
Right.
I had it down last weekend.
And he said the term rinky dink.
He called it rinky dink. And I said, well, I am. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious, dude.
I said, I am.
You served it right back to him. I'm used to playing rinky dink places like this.
This is my hometown,
Yeah.
and this is our rock club. And for you to come in here and call it a rinky dink thing, we ain't got time for this shit.
Right, that's
I
bothersome.
was like, really? Because you got a house full of people that paid $75 to come see the guy that hired you to tune his guitars.
Exactly.
That's your
You know what I mean?
yeah, now is not the time to start being a fucking privileged dick.
Right. But anyway, on the positive side of things, I got to talk to their guitar tech, which his name escapes me. But, the place is small. So the guitar tech station was like off to the side of the stage against the wall.
Right.
And they had to put like a table to kind of barricade between. That's where he was handing guitars up and down from. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And he was restringing them.
Right.
Right.
At his little station there. And I was eyeballing what was going on there. And there was a Jet City 333 amp head in the rack system.
Ah.
And that's the only amp head I could see. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's interesting. They're using a 333, huh? And he said, no, that's in there for the one song that Bret Michaels plays guitar on. And so I know when that shuts off, it freaks you out.
Right.
That's for the one song that Bret
liking.
Michaels plays guitar on.
Right.
And that's all he uses it for. The rest is on here, and he pulls his iPad out.
Right.
And it's got, I don't even know how it works. I'm so uneducated at this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all on the iPad.
It's on the iPad.
There's no amp.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
So
yep. I in fact I have a complete guitar simulation suite for my iPad, and it ain't bad. It's pretty good. You know, and I bet and it's been a while since I've updated or done anything. My guess is it's probably pretty amazing at this point.
Right.
I mean, you start cranking it through the mix, and
that's what we were talking about. It's just, you have control of it there with that.
Totally.
All the variables, if the mic, in the old days, if a mic got moved off the cone on the 412 cabinet, you had to have some butthole run up there and tap the singer on the back and move the mic around. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then pick up the lead guitar player because he's probably passed out, and then go back to what he's doing.
Yeah.
But now you just change it right there, done. Okay.
Well, a lot. I mean, that sort of brings up the subject of a lot of times, even if you listen to something that doesn't really sound all that great by itself, like, I plug into those amp simulators and I think, it's all right. You know what I mean? When you start putting it in a mix with all the other stuff, it's really pretty good. You know what I mean? So when, a lot of times when you start soloing stuff out, where you are listening to just that instrument by itself, it might not sound that great. But really, I think all of us would be kind of shocked if we heard some of the instruments that we thought were just great sounds, just great tones, just by themselves. You know what I mean? Like, if you heard them just by themselves, you'd think to yourself, wow, what a weird, thin, shitty, out of phase, vacuous, fucking scooped out, nasty, no low end kind of tone that is, but it just works perfectly in the mix.
I ran into that with some vocals that, how people are starting to take just the vocal track or just the drum track and putting them on Facebook and saying, hey, here's just a vocal track of Running with the Devil.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, yes, got to hear that click.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you can hear some of Eddie Van Halen's shit bleeding in some tracks because they had to dupe tracks.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, and you go,
or just headphones.
Man, by itself, he sounds like an orangutan raping another fucking, like a pig or something.
Right. What the hell? Yeah.
I mean, without any effects or nothing, it's like
robot
really?
Sex.
That's bravery, is what that is.
It really
you know what I
is.
mean?
It really is, man. I mean,
fearless.
Totally fearless. So you checked out the guitar rig. You saw that it was a modeled rig, not using some big beefy computer or whatever, but using the lowly iPad.
That's it.
Oh, that's some shit.
All the rest were drawers. You know what I mean? For strings and stuff.
Exactly.
I said, so where's the rigs?
Condoms.
And he pulled the iPad out and said, it's right there. And I was like,
Okay.
that's everything, huh?
Yep,
He's
yep.
like, yep, that's where it's at.
Well, the fuck of it is, too, is that the iPad, the size of the iPad, that thing's mostly fucking screen. I mean, you could absolutely have that whole amp modeling suite if you were willing to slave it out to some other screen that you know, if you didn't want to have to mess with having a screen, that thing would probably be about the size of a USB stick at this point.
Yeah, and I think he said he teched for lots of people. I mean, he was teching for Anthrax. He said that he had a sound for every era of Anthrax
Cool.
form. So when they play a song off of an early record, they have that exact rig.
The exact rig,
They have
right.
the exact, you know,
So just they can duplicate that sound of that era.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right there in his iPad.
No kidding.
Yep. It's
Wow.
no lie. It's no lie. I mean, I'm using
Times are a changing,
Well, I
man.
guess.
changing. Well, you know, I mean,
Back in the day.
Yeah.
and you know, yeah, times are changing. You know, this kind of brings up a thing. You know, my bass player and I, Chris Ermy. I don't know if any of you in Minor Disturbance land know Chris Ermy. He's the big worm. They call him Worm.
He's the burrito eater in the video that we played from Mariana's.
That's right. He's the burrito eater, and he is.
Well, he's wearing a sombrero, by the
That's
way.
right. He is wearing a sombrero. That's true. But he's obsessed with gear. He's obsessed with equipment. He's obsessed with basses and bass amps and guitars and guitar amps. And now he's starting to turn his focus toward recording equipment. And he's decided that he hates digital. He does not like any of the digital recordings of anybody that he's heard from the local area. He thinks they sound, though they may sound clean and clear, that they lack the emotional. It's like he says he feels like no emotional response to it. He doesn't feel that there's
They're behind it.
yeah, it's like it's like it lacks depth. You know what I mean? There's something about it lacks warmth. You know, like
Is it like fucking with a rubber?
it's kind of like fucking with a rubber. It gets the job done. You bust a nut, but it's not the same kind of soul-crushing, mind-rending
But no
nut
contact really happened.
that you get. That's the point, you know? And
God, that's a good euphemism, man.
That's a fucking fantastic
No contact was really made.
No contact was really made, and that is absolutely true. That if you look at the physical situation, the physical situation is that when you're using analog gear, and when I say analog gear, noobs out there who don't know what I'm talking about, this is what the deal is. It's like everything used to be recorded using tape. You remember cassette tapes? They used to use these really big reel-to-reel tape units that were just like giant versions of your cassette tapes, and that's how everything was recorded. All of your favorite albums up to about, 1988? 1989, they were all recorded using these big tape machines. Everything was what was called analog. And when the sound went onto the analog tape, what that meant was that the sound that you were hearing was a physical remnant of the original performance. All right? It was what some people would refer to as billiard ball physics. This thing hits this thing, and this thing hits this thing, and that's how things continue to the tape, and then they play back the tape.
All right. Now, if you want to be even more confused as to what the fuck what just happened in front of you, do we still have that in over there, that thumb drive? We absolutely do.
Yep.
We are adding a new segment to the show.
Right, the new segment.
Do you want to introduce it, or do you want me to explain kind of what
Before we
it is?
introduce
Yeah.
it, you got to finish your story.
No,
What's
and-
the
Bret Michaels thing.
Oh, you
We're
want me
gonna
to finish that?
Okay, I was going to say, what I just described
Where
to
we
you,
at?
that's fucking without a rubber. That was my whole point.
Well, the whole Bret Michaels thing, that'll leave something for later for us to talk about. The gig went great. I think we won some new fans over. I
Good.
said some ridiculously offensive shit on stage.
Did you say the word cunt?
And absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, at one point, I was standing on stage in my stretch-on bedazzled Levi's
Yeah.
with my gut hanging over my belt and my frizzy ass hair, pointing at some girl in the audience, going, "You want to fuck Bret Michaels, don't you?" And she went, no. And I was like, "Who wants to fuck Bret Michaels?" And you know what I mean? I was like, "Yeah, well, all you get right now is this." You know what I mean? It was like, I was all over it, man. And I don't know if my wife couldn't hear me or if she was just acting like it was funny, but she didn't get mad at anything I said. And usually she's pretty good. She's like, "Brian, you realize that
Yeah.
you said this, and this, and this."
Right.
And anyway, so that's the kind of thing that I gotta stop thinking about, because when I'm in the moment on stage, you have to be able to take a chance. and you have to pull the trigger. I remember about the last episode, Travis, I called you. I said, there's some things that I said on there that I'm not sure that I want to go to print with. And that's that whole thing that I was talking about at the beginning of the show.
But what did I say to you?
You said, in all good art, that you have to be able to pull the trigger. Yeah. And you said you can't be afraid to pull the trigger. And so be yourself, do what it is that you feel confident doing, and people will rally around that. Yep. And don't be fake. So I guess that's what my whole point was, you know, people think that I have this whole thing figured out. Like, Brian Miner, I know I've people tell me that I've inspired them in certain ways, you know, through music or this and that and other thing. So they assume that I have this whole life thing fucking figured out, you know, which I don't. I'm constantly evolving, trying to figure out who I want to be, or at least who I want to present myself as to people. Right. Because I'm constantly afraid that people aren't going to like the real Brian. Which I've found out lately that the real Brian is very likable. Yeah. It's the fake fronted thinking he's a badass Brian that nobody likes. Right. You know what I mean?
It's the real Brian everybody likes. Yeah. That's right.
So, and for a long time, like I said before, I was always going on the assumption that I'd rather be fake to people and have them hate that fake person than to be real and have them hate that person.
Right. Have to run the risk of finding out.
So now that I've, you know, and you get older and you figure out that if they're not going to really like who I am, they can step aside. They're not really that valuable to you. You have to focus your attention on finding people to be around you that are behind you, that are positive people, that are going to inspire you, and they're going to be behind the real person that you want to be, and aren't offended by the real person that you are. Right. So, and that's in doing Minor Disturbance Radio. That's kind of what I'm doing.
Well, it's an old saying, but I really like the saying. It's when I was 20, I cared what everybody thought. When I was 30, I didn't give a shit what everybody was, thinking. But when I was 40, I realized they weren't thinking about me. Once you realize everybody is just as fucked up and self-absorbed as you are, it's like everything changes, man.
Yeah. So anyway, the show went really good. I think we won some fans over, and it's an 80s tribute band.
So,
what can I say?
So it was worth doing.
Absolutely. And when I discussed it with Kenny, I think it was a good decision for us to do, because our likes went up, quite a bit on the Facebook the next day. Even if we got 10 new likes on our Facebook, it was worth it. But we have people that are like, oh, I didn't even know that there was a 80s tribute band around. Well, there's fucking 8,000 of them. Exactly. All of a sudden.
Yeah. I didn't know that there was there was 4 cities in the Quad City. I mean, what the fuck, man? There's fucking been 80s bands for
a lot of the people that came out to see that aren't people that go out on a regular basis. Right. And they were like, oh, Bret Michaels, they would, they're the people that go to concerts. They don't go to local shows.
Well, I don't go to local shows, so there you go.
Well, there you go. So it would take,
I would have to take Bret Michaels came to town. I didn't even go to that. It just shows you, how fucking corrupt I am.
To be 100% honest with you, and people know this, I wouldn't have been there either.
You wouldn't have gone?
No. I would have been pissed at my wife for going, because she'd want to go. Yep. And I'd be forking out the $75. God damn it.
Well, because of Bret Michaels or because of the money?
No, because of the money. I won't. Kenny had to charge a lot of money for that, because Bret Michaels is expensive.
Right. Okay. I get that.
And when you do the math on that, that man's walking away with a lot of money.
Oh yes.
So I'm just going by the math of what everybody knows.
Right.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to sell out what the show was, but if you take and just do the basic math of what the real things that we know.
Right.
X being what we don't know he got paid, but we do know a couple numbers. Yeah. And that is Rascals holds 250 people.
Right.
And tickets were on the average $75.
Right.
So we're right at the number of about $20,000.
Right.
Okay. So Bret Michaels, I'm just by doing the common man's math, was probably 20 grand.
Yep.
And a huge risk for a bar owner to undertake.
For him to step out on a ledge and do that.
Considering his capacity, he was definitely sharpening the pencil to, get those numbers to add up right in order to make it so that with his giving capacity and the amount of money that he had to charge in order to be able to make it worthwhile, provided, of course, that Bret Michaels has the pull in our area to have all these people come out and he can pack the place,
Yeah, you could tell that Kenny was a bit nervous when it first started running, and he was watching the ticket sales,
Yep.
and that's got to be a scary thing, because every time I've seen from my recollection, anything that's had the Poison tag on it lately for festivals or anything that's around here, people usually take a hit. Attendance-wise, yeah.
Really?
Because
I didn't.
I want to say that Poison's 30,000.
Really?
Is what I've
for the whole band.
heard for Poison.
Right.
Okay.
And for Bret, I don't know if that's what he asked, but I mean, for a price tag of $20,000, you know, and you know that he wanted half of that up front.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Like I say, this is I'm just talking. I'm just talking from what I know about the business.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Usually when a national band like that comes to town, they're gonna, you know, you're gonna shop them. You're gonna go find this band, and you're gonna find out how much they are, and you're gonna call them and say, what do you know, what kind of stage do you need, all this stuff, and they're gonna say, we're this much money, and we need this much money up front right now to book the gig. And then we need to know what the pre-sale is at a certain point, because we might want a percentage of that by the time we get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're getting their money.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
And there ain't no bullshit there. And if you got some club owner don't know what the hell he's doing,
Yeah.
you know, he's like, I'm going to get Bret and Michaels. I don't care how much they are, man.
Right.
$10 a head, man. And they forget that their club don't hold that many people.
Right,
All of a sudden, you've got this guy with an accent going, we don't play rinky-dink places, fucking hitting you in the knees with a baseball bat collecting money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talking about pay up.
So,
Give
well,
me
the
money.
thing is,
Where's
Bret
my money?
Michaels, I think he's coming back again,
money?
so he's going to come back and play there again.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So,
Now what if your mom sells Mary Kay? Do you suppose you could like pay him off in mascara? You know what I mean? Pay him off in lip gloss?
I was wondering where that was going.
You
these
know?
dudes look like you could pay him off in soap.
Yeah. No, we talking about some hand soap. We talking about some 3-in-1.
We're talking about showers and,
What we're talking about.
yeah.
Really? They were
I don't
riding
think
around.
They were privy to the $200,000 tour bus that was sitting out behind.
No,
Roscoe's.
I don't think so. I think that they were probably forced to ride in the secondary unit, otherwise known as Vangina.
Yeah, when they got done, the band, and this is the way I perceived it. I was drunk as fuck because we got done. We were done at like 10 o'clock, and immediately I'm shots, but I'm partying, rock and roll party. You know
No,
what I mean?
if you're gonna tolerate a Bret Michaels set, you are going to have to be fucking hammered.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't nothing against Bret Michaels. I mean, let me be clear here. Anything that I say that's negative about Bret Michaels is obviously going to peel back the skin and show that I'm jealous. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
It's a jealousy thing. Obviously, I'm not moved by the guy's talent, okay?
Right.
He's a rock and roll singer, you know, a pretty guy, and all. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, so he gets to be the guy that actually gets to be in one of the biggest hair bands of the 80s, and he still is a normal, you know, he seems like a nice guy.
He probably is, but at the same time, you know, I can't help but look at it and see that, you know, a lot of the music from that time, you know, particularly the stuff that Poison did, and, you know, I'm not a fan. You know, they were capitalized on something that I just thought was like just kind of low. You know what I mean? That was my theory on it. Is that you had a bunch of investment, you know, capital investment type people in the music industry that saw that they could ride this image and then serve up whatever dreck underneath that image. You know what I mean? There were really good bands before Poison that kind of had that look, you know, but Poison was just like the most extreme version of that look. And then they come with these songs, and man,
you know, you cannot blame the music industry for being a smart business.
they are a business. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and my point is,
He's just still
if there's-
riding the after
If
effects
there's
of that.
good music out there that are selling 150,000 copies of records every time they put a record out, and then you have this cotton candy thing with fluorescent colors that you all of a sudden every girl in the world buys their record twice because
Totally.
they lose the first one, or you know what I mean, and so now you've got 20 million records sold because every road.
Yeah.
That's a smart company,
I'm not saying they're not.
and it's our dumbasses
Intelligent.
that are buying it.
That's what I'm saying. I never bought it. I never bought it. That's
20
what I'm
million
saying.
people did.
20
That's what I'm
million
saying.
fucking people did. I never bought it. So now when I see it, I'm still like, really? You stupid motherfuckers are still. Man.
And I'll bet you every town he shows up to,
I'll
there's
bet.
still at least 2 dudes that live in that immediate area that look just like him.
I'll bet there is too.
Wear the hat,
Yep.
have the blonde hair, and are trying to be
Yep.
Bret Michaels.
Yep.
And
Fry
that's
cook at fucking Hooters,
that's gotta
waxing
be
their
s-
IROC fucking.
That's got to be spooky as fuck.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
here, let me finish the story.
All right,
I'll sum it
all
up real
right.
quick,
Bust it out.
and we'll get
Bust it out.
to your segment.
All right.
at the end of the show, I had no interest in meeting Bret Michaels. I didn't want, not that I wouldn't have met him if you said, hey, let's go meet him, which is what happened.
Okay.
I wasn't going to go out of my way to go, hey, can I go fucking meet Bret Michaels? And his bus was sitting out back.
Okay. Oh,
and
okay.
apparently, if you bought the big package, you could go do a meet with him. And basically what that means is you wait in line outside of his bus, and one at a time you step up on the bus. His roadie guy takes a picture of you and him with your phone or whatever, and then you leave the bus. You say how much you want to suck his dick, and then you leave the bus.
Wow.
And so Kenny comes up to me, and he's like, Brian, come on. And Danelle, come on, my wife, come on. And we're like, what? We were already out there, we watched him walk in and stuff, and all that stuff. And we already did our thing.
That's all we need to see.
And so we walk up on the bus, and I'm like, cool place, man. I'm drunk. And I'm on Bret Michaels' bus. You know what I
Brian's
mean?
in rare form. I can feel it.
Oh my God. Ear sticking out of my hair, hat on backwards, you know what I mean? Looking like complete Iowa garbage. You know what I mean? Jet black eyeliner, jet black hair, fucking opening band. Hey, we open for you guys, man. Breathing on. Then my wife all high, like has a nice little picture with him, and I'm like, my turn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Leather coat, stinky, sweaty, you know what I mean? Like, what's up, Bret? Throwing the horns in the picture. You know, and I'm like, yeah, man, we couldn't play half the normal shit we'd play tonight because fucking, I was like, Bret Michaels, who the fuck is that? I was like joking about how, I was on stage and I was like, apparently we had to set our drums up all stupid because of this Bret Michaels guy, whatever the fuck that is. And he's like, nice meeting you guys. All right, have a nice, he's this little, he's just this little dude.
He saw it off.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
nothing.
And I'm thinking I could break his head off right now.
Right, dude.
And I could be like the most famous guy in the world.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And opening band in Devon or Moline kills Bret Michaels on his tour bus. You know what I mean? These things are happening.
Destroys him with metal.
But actually, he was very, very nice, and he didn't seem offended by anything I was saying.
Well, that's cool.
Kind of giggled, but then again, that was the probably 10,000th time somebody said something retarded to him on his bus.
Well, I would imagine that
because that's what he does. It's like it felt like a funeral procession.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
but it kind of is. But but you would imagine that somebody like that, they probably maybe get a little bit fucking bored with people coming up. Oh my God, I'm a huge fan of your work, everything you've done, and that's just you're influencing my life every day. And I listen to your albums, and I wake up, and then I put on the do-rag, and I just do it, and I love you, and you're so important to me.
Yeah, but before that, he was at PetSmart with his new line of dog toys.
That's exactly right.
Which was another funny line on stage that I presented to people because I was said something about I thought there were sex toys, man. This one won't come out of my butt or something.
You know what?
It's like, did they have to make it so spiky? He just seemed really. I don't know, how everybody rubbed Lincoln's nose at the Lincoln Memorial. Is there something like that in Springfield?
Yeah.
And it's all shiny.
Right.
You could see that there's a path that thousands of people have walked on that tour bus in front of the fireplace. And man, what a nice bus, by the way.
Was it the Rock of Love bus?
It might have been, dude. It might have been. It was a big ass bus.
But you're saying that there was some kind of shine to it, like it had been.
What's funny?
I know that's like
what's funny about it, Travis, is here's this huge fucking bus sitting there, like you see in the video where the big rock band bus, and then here's my Trailblazer with the hatch open, and my wife trying to help me carry my bags, but throw them in the bag.
Late model Trailblazer.
10 million records. About 200
records. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the difference, man.
Although, but again, you said the funeral procession thing. He's a dinosaur, man. His shit died. The fucking asteroid hit, man.
And he knows it. And
I know he knows it.
As a matter of fact, Bret Michaels is going to release a new single, "Kind Soul" or something like this, or "A Beautiful Soul," some new song on Oprah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was just gonna be like, "What is it on fucking Lifetime?"
So that's what it's come down to.
Yep.
He is releasing.
And you know what? That
world premiere video on MTV, and now he's releasing that song.
No,
on
head crusher of the week for fucking 3 months straight. Every Rose Has Its Thorn on Headbangers Ball.
That was the head crusher of the week. Fuck that, man. Fuck that.
The most head crusher of the week ever. Like it won the
How
most.
does that song crush heads? Explain this.
16-year-old girls is how it crushes heads.
It crushed vulvas.
Right. And guys put up with it because they're like, she fucking fucks me whenever we play this song.
And it's funny because I got that when you said, no, fucking wife would just drag me out there. Blah, blah, blah. When you were first talking about the concert, I got this image of the band starting and all these women running up and grabbing the hands of men and dragging them, like ragdoll limp, you know what I mean, up to the front of the fucking stage, man. I mean,
I always, when I'm playing in dive bomb or third rail, I always make it a point because I can see them poor suckers in the audience all the time. They're always the ones with their girl standing in front of them and they're like this, and their girls are going and they're dancing and doing their thing and they're just kind of trying to hold on to them and make it through the night and just kind of looking at me and going, I fucking hate you. You know what I mean? And I'm up there all like, pour some sugar on me, and the girls are going, and they're like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You're gonna, and so I make it a point. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I make it a point to say something cool to them.
Yeah.
And say, thank you very much for putting up with this shit and letting your wife have a good time. We're totally no threat to anything. You know
I thought you would say something cool like, you better get some water in this chick, otherwise she's going to be useless after this show.
Yeah. And he knows it too. He knows
does
it.
too,
He's
man.
like, man, there might be a small window of time that I might be able to get laid still.
Aren't you ready for some water, honey? I mean, it's getting pretty late.
They're going to drive through Hardee's and she's going to throw up a fucking cheeseburger on the side of the curb.
Like, biscuits and gravy.
She's going to pass out in the passenger car in the seat.
Yeah.
And then he's going to like, baby, we're home. And she's going to throw up on him. And the next day he's going to be sucking that shit out of his carpet at the car wash, thinking about me. You know what I mean? And now I'm up there, pour some sugar. And he's going to be like, I hate this motherfucker. And then 2 weeks later, they'll be at the show again. And he'll be standing there again. Dive bomb, this time with a dive bomb shirt on.
Right. Because she dresses him. So true. So fucking true, man.
So anyway, that's the end of my story, and I'm going to get to this segment. This is going to be a really cool part of the show now. Right. Travis's knowledge is very valuable, and I'm so glad that he's a part of MDR now because I can actually have some content, because my brain only goes this far. I know certain things.
And Jeff's brain goes nowhere.
And I can tell nowhere. Yeah, I can tell a story sometimes. And but this guy knows what he's talking about. So what we have is
pretend.
What we have is it's going to be called. You want to introduce it?
Yeah. Okay. This is me in my my studio in my downstairs room, and I'm hoping that through Minor Disturbance Radio, you guys will ask me some questions. And I'll tell you in the segment about what kinds of questions I'm hoping to get from you. But I'm willing to discuss anything in my laboratory. So ask me what's going on. Roll the clip.
What's the segment called?
The clip is called Trav in the Lab.
There we go.
This is Trav in the Lab. This segment is to answer your questions about gear and guitar playing, amps, pedals, cables, effects, plugins, computer recording. Send in your questions and I'll do my best to explain everything in as dramatic and deep detail as I possibly can. So, I'll start right now. This is a PRS Custom 24. I'm using a Horizon Silverflex cable, which is silver annealed wire. I can explain that further if you'd like. But then I'm running into my Universal Audio Apollo system and using two of their amp simulator plugins. One of them is the Metal Amp Room and the other one is like a half stack. I'm splitting the signal using a Radial Designs, Radial Engineering JDV direct box. I don't know if you can see that. So it's driving 2 channels into the Apollo, which is a digital audio interface. Think of it as the way that you can connect. It turns your computer into a piece of recording hardware. This particular unit allows you to load plugins on the inputs. Plugins are ways to process the sound in real time with little or no latency. So it sounds like... Here, I'll turn it off. Here's with it back in. Here's with both of them on. It's pretty awesome. That allows you to record direct. You don't have to put a microphone in front of an amplifier. You just plug your guitar in and load your favorite digital audio recording workstation software, sometimes referred to as DAW or DAW software, and you can record direct. If you've got another plug-in that lets you have the sound of a drum kit, you can then play along with some drums. You can do things by yourself in your basement or home studio now that will rival the quality of what some of the top engineers are doing in the industry. So it's pretty exciting. I'm embarking on my journey in doing it and doing a lot of experimenting. And if you're interested in finding out more about what I'm doing and you want to find out more about, recording in general, or guitar playing in general, like I'm playing these licks, maybe you want to know how to play some of these licks. Like, as an example, the pick that I'm using is a stubby. It's a Jim Dunlop stubby pick. If I switch to, let's say, like a Tortex type pick, the sound changes. Back to the stubby. Stubby just seems to kind of roll off the strings. So, and it gives you a nice kind of glassy sound when it touches the strings. So that's one of the, if I'm playing stuff like, where I'm really wanting to shred, if I'm really wanting to shred, I use the stubby pick. Most of the time though, I don't play with one of these, because most of the time I'm not shredding. I'm wanting to play chords and write songs and be an artist, So, anyway, please write in with your questions, and we'll move this segment along. Thanks for watching. Back to Minor Disturbance Radio.
Jesus Christ, you're a good guitar player.
Thanks, pal.
Hate you.
No, well, I hate you too. To talk a little bit about that, though, what I'd like to offer is at least my services of conversation about, technical or philosophical matters, because I think that stuff is fascinating. I don't mean I'm fascinating. I mean, like, the subject is fascinating. So
let me start with one for you.
Okay.
Do you think, and I've asked this before, do you think that you could hear the difference between Sovtek tube and say like a groove tube in a head?
Okay, I'm gonna answer that question 2 ways. The first answer is yes. I can hear the difference between a Sovtek tube and like a European produced groove tube or an American 6L6 GC made using the original General Electric equipment. Now, if you asked me to just dead read an amp, okay, I'm going to play you an amp, Travis Williams, that has this tube in it. And I'm going to play you an amp that has that tube in it. And I want you to tell me just by listening which one is which. There's no fucking way I'd be able to tell you which one is which. I can tell the differences in tubes when I'm swapping them out, but to be able to sit there and say, nope, that's definitely a Telefunken, You know what I mean? That's definitely an Amperex. That's definitely a tongue saw. That's definitely an RCA. That's definitely, you know, a GE. That's definitely a Sovtech. That's definitely a test. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never be able to do that.
So that would be the technical part of the question.
Yeah.
And then the philosophical part of that question would be, then why does it fucking matter? If you've got Warren DeMartini on stage jamming through a Soldano SLO with Who Cares tubes, if you're just hearing him play through it, who cares what tubes he has?
Okay, and my answer to that is that even though we can't determine what the difference is in a dead reed listen, there is still a difference. So when you put this tube in, it sounds different. And then you make a decision about whether or not you think it sounds better than the way the other thing sounds. And sometimes the differences are subtle, but you know what? Sometimes the differences are dramatic. I mean, I've heard an amp go from having a very loose, flabby kind of low end, big, round, warm, falling apart, sounds like it's just juicy and bleh, you know, to having a real tight, dense, kind of not a lot of low end kind of sound just because somebody changed a single tube in an amplifier. I mean, that is a huge difference. And if it's the difference between you having something that you like and having something that you don't like, then goddamn it, change the fucking tube, man.
I believe in that because I went from no chicks to a chick just by changing my underwear.
That's amazing.
It's also
just one small thing and changed my underwear, and it was all of a sudden.
Now, when you say changed your underwear, do you mean you put on a different pair of the
different
same type?
I actually took the pair that I've been wearing for that week and got a fresh pair.
Because sometimes you seem a little tense, and I wonder if you don't go from like jockey to, you know, boxer or something like that. You know what I mean? If you don't go from briefs to, you know,
we need to get back to.
I was wondering where this was going.
This is where we have a hard time with the content because I've got so many things I want to talk about, and we have so many other things that we just end up talking about.
Yes.
So we were going to answer some questions. I thought.
Absolutely. We wanted to go to our Facebook page, the Minor Disturbance Radio, and I put up the question. You know, we're recording episode 13 at 7 o'clock, and we got any questions for Brian, Travis, or Jeff, any subjects you want to cover.
Okay.
You know, and so ask us what you want to ask us. And I didn't think anybody would say anything.
Oh, my goodness.
To be honest with you, because, you know, who cares about Minor Disturbance Radio? Everybody just kind of, they're like stalkers. They watch it, but they don't really want to admit they do.
Who cares about Minor Disturbance Radio? Well, barely me.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's a couple things here. Melanie Schneckloth, is that how you'd pronounce that?
Yeah, I'd say
Travis?
that's Schneckloth.
Yeah, okay. So, which I was surprised because she seems like a young chick that had a question. Anyway, young and chick in MDR, this is very confusing.
It really is. It really is.
Thrown off by this.
Yeah,
No,
I'm kind of bashful. I'm like, there's a girl in here. You know what I mean? Anyway, she asked me about my band Third Rail and our schedule because we played that Kelly's Irish pub thing, and she probably saw us there and probably liked what she saw because she's not used to seeing probably that kind of thing. And believe it or not, young people are susceptible to this thing. They don't see it as their parents' music as much as you think that they do.
Well, I just want to point out that those particular young people are not very well liked by the other young people of their generation.
Really?
So, yeah, right. They're generally outcasts.
Okay, well that's another description of rock and roll right there.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
That is true. Man.
Otherwise, you'd be calling it pop music.
That's right. It's revel.
Okay?
Revel.
It's called rock and roll.
Revel radio.
Okay. If your dad takes you to a concert, it's probably a pop music concert. They're not taking you to a rock and roll show.
You know, in retrospect, I have to say you're probably right. You know, the first show I went to was with my dad, and it was Van Halen, but Van Hagar.
Yeah,
So
but it's different with the
time.
boy. You're not going to take your daughter to a rock where the singer is up there with no shirt on with a tattoo that says "suck my dick," and like, you know what I mean. And he's up there like, "Who wants to fucking party?"
Right.
You know, you're not paying your way. Yeah, honey, you having fun, sweetie? What's this next song called? Do you want to do it?
Unless you're like me, and I'm all like, "Get us backstage, honey."
Yeah,
Get us backstage.
I know he's using EL34s in that amp, man. I got to find out. Anyway, so she wants to know about my band schedule with Third Rail, and I'm going to try to make it short, but it's a long story, but it's a short one. Third Rail is one of my 80s tribute bands that I was in for quite a while. Certain times in life, you have to decide how often you want to do this hobby. And a couple members of that band decided that it's not it's not in their top 3 things that they want to do in their life. And, there's other things that happen and they don't have too much time for it anymore.
Right.
I guess is the only PC way of saying that. And I'm still somewhat of a loser. And I still want to play.
You're my favorite mistake.
I don't want to play all the time, but at least like once or twice a month. You know what I mean? You got to have that hobby.
Yeah.
So I find myself having to make the decision: do I want to play 3 times a year and be satisfied with that? And as my musical career or my ability to do this, the sun's setting on it. Let's be honest. I don't have much time left doing this, so I have to either go out playing 3 times a year and feel like I'm just kind of wasting away, or I had to start another band and find out what I do well, which is sing 80s stuff and that. So I started another band called Dive Bomb, and Third Rail is kind of over for the time being. I mean, I'll still play with them. Right. They'll still play with me. There's no fallout or anything like that. It's just they didn't have as much time for that as I did, and there may have been some feelings that got hurt in the interim, in which I feel really badly about. I didn't think that I was doing anything really that bad, but apparently looking back on it, this is the story of my life.
Yeah.
Looking, and I talk about this all the time. When bands break up, you lose all your friends.
Right.
Yeah.
How many times does that happen to you? And the band didn't ever break up.
No.
But when I start another band, then all of a sudden there's this rivalry, and then it's bad.
You don't. I mean, everybody in the world wants to believe there's such a thing as casual sex. You know what I mean? Everybody in the world wants to believe that when you connect with people in certain ways, that everything's cool and you can just still be yourself and everybody can be themselves and everything's fine. But I think musical relationships are kind of like pair bonded relationships, or romantic relationships in that way. I'm not saying that they have all of the same properties. Obviously they don't. But, when you start playing with other people and things like that, a lot of times it makes you feel a certain way. It makes you feel like you're being abandoned or like you. And
I get that. And I guess all I want to say about that situation is that was Third Rail, that the people that Kelly saw, and that's a great band. I have still. I hope that band plays still.
Yeah.
I have no idea why we wouldn't still play a few times a year.
Yeah.
Oh, and you should.
And
Absolutely
let me do my Dive Bomb thing too to make me happy. You know what I mean?
That is just provided that everyone can come to terms with what the rules of the relationship are now. You know what I mean?
I think what happened was Third Rail feels like they have to compete with Dive Bomb now.
Oh no.
And the way I see it is, how do they know that Dive Bomb don't have to compete with Third Rail? Yeah. Because Third Rail has already a built audience and all this, and some of them are going to turn their head at the Dive Bomb thing, and they're going to have to choose sides. And I don't want that to happen. It's all party rock. Let's have a good time.
Right.
It's there's no big falling out. Anyway, the answer to the question is, I'm in Dive Bomb and Third Rail, and Third Rail's not going. They have nothing on the books right now.
Yep. Okay.
So there's nothing for Third Rail. If you want to see Dive Bomb, then go to our Facebook and like our page, and you will know every time that we're playing. And it's the same thing as Third Rail, just with a couple different members but the same attitude. Yeah. And so that's the answer to that question.
So the myth of Dive Bomb being a cover band for Third Rail.
We're a Third Rail tribute band.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Although on the subject of band relationships being compared to romantic relationships, I'm on the side of let's have an orgy.
Yeah, until it's your band that you're trying to focus on, and everybody else is in 20 other bands.
My bass player, my drummer is in 3 bands right now, so I do get some of that. And I'm not super butthurt about it, but man, my poor bass player, again, Chris Ermy, he really gives him a lot of shit. And, I honestly think in a certain respect, he almost likes the fact that he's in several bands because it gives him ammunition to give him shit.
Yeah.
It's like he just really likes to really mess with him, But yeah, man, I that thing that you're talking about, man, it's a real thing.
Well, this coincides with kind of one of the other questions that was on here. Wes Weber, who's a really good drummer. He's in Drama Major, and he's in the Chris and Wes show.
Yeah,
he does a lot of stuff. He keeps himself very busy. That's part of his living. You know what I mean? There's some people that make this a big part of their living, being a musician, a musical person.
Because he teaches and does all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
And at the end of the day, I'm a carpet cleaner. That's what I do. That's how I feed my family.
Right.
The band thing, buys me pizza for 2 weeks and maybe a bag of weed and it's fun money.
Right. Yeah.
What kind of shitty weed are you buying?
You don't know how much I make.
Oh, that's true.
But
I
anyway,
suppose I don't.
yeah.
But
So-
I do know how much weed is.
Yeah.
And I know what bars pay. Again, speaking of just sheer numbers here, let me do a little bit of fucking math.
Anyway, so that kind of coincides with another question. All he put was covers versus originals, and I think that all the musicians that watch this show completely understand the question. There's not a comparison. To me, if covers and originals are completely different and all in the same at the same time. If you're enjoying doing it, if you enjoy having your instrument in your hand, no matter what you're playing, and you're having fun doing it, they're both equal to me. But from a perspective of as a musician, you're never going to be as satisfied playing a cover to 2,000 people as you would playing your own music to 2,000 people. If it was your original songs, that's that extra like, oh my God, I'm going to come in my pants feeling.
Oh my God, dude. And if they're like singing back the words
oh my
to
God,
you, oh.
There's nothing better than that.
That is the
There's
best.
nothing better than having a song that people identify with and love and know every word to it.
That is good.
And
That is
get tattoos of it and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And you cannot compete. That's a totally different
'Cause then
euphoric
it's you
thing.
It's not just you wearing somebody else's clothes looking good and people are like, wow, you're really good looking.
Yeah, you guys,
know?
I've never heard anybody talk dirty to me like that,
Yeah,
man. You guys
right.
are really good
Yeah,
at it.
you guys are really handsome.
That almost pulls you the other way. You're like, well, I'll see you on the Centennial Bridge.
Yeah, right.
Watch for me on the news.
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, I'm in both things. I mean, I've been in an original band and I've felt what it's like for people to like what you're doing that way and get that little dose of that drug of what that must feel like to be successful at that. And I've also been in somewhat successful cover bands, so I know at the end of the day, if you enjoy doing it, no matter what it is, and other people enjoy seeing it, then it's all viable to me. I don't see one being more valid than the other. If you're,
I could not possibly agree more with what you're saying. I could not possibly agree more. Although, if you realize that one thing or the other isn't doing it, then you owe it to yourself to do the thing that makes yourself happy. And you can't place the kind of value on it like, this should be a good time for me. This should be fun. This should be great. I'm playing in front of people and they're getting down and man, this should be great. But if it isn't, man, you got to admit it, and go do the thing that is really your thing and pursue that with everything you got. If you can manage. And, maybe that might not be a lot. I'll admit, I mean, I don't have a lot of time to put toward it and I don't obviously have an infinite budget to put toward it. But, that little bit of time that I get chipping it in, and if I can find a really good hook, you know what I mean, that's been brewing in my head for a while, never played it before, and pick up the guitar and make something happen, that's just great,
I got to admit, though, I had your wig picked out and everything for Dive Bomb, dude.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. You never think that things like this could happen, but you and I could have been sitting in my Trailblazer backstage putting on eyeliner together. And you saying, is my wig crooked?
No, I would have been
"Here,
saying,
let me help you get your bandana on top. Travis, here you go.
I would have been saying, Brian, what I need you to do right now is punch me in the face as hard as you can. You would have been like, what the fuck? I would seriously punch me in the face as hard as you can.
So you're saying you don't want to do it? All right, fine.
I don't think so, man.
So what's your take, Jeff, on originals or covers?
Like, do I want to go see, or would I go see a band playing both?
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, when you go to see a band, say, for example, in your position, what happens to you is if you go see local bands, you're not going to know any of their shit.
Right.
So you've got to sit through 8 or 10 songs of shit you don't know.
Right.
Or would you rather go see a cover band where you know all the songs and they're playing Jesse's Girl and Let That Mama Play, or Mama Let That Boy, Let That Mama Play,
You're at that
whatever
play,
fuck, you know what I'm trying
whatever
to
that
say.
fucking Tommy Doucette song is, god damn it.
I enjoy both separately.
Okay, so
I don't have a preference per se.
Well, this all ties perfectly into what we're going to play now, which is I wanted to promote something at Rascals coming up on April 19th, I believe. Yeah, April 19th. One of my very favorite, and I say one of my, but I'm going to be honest. They are my favorite local band, period. And people are going to say, oh, well, what happened to 3 Years Hollow? They're not a local band anymore. They're a national band. They're from here, but they're no longer a struggling local band. And once you move into that next level, I'm going to still own you and say, yeah, that's our band. They're from here, but they're not that local band that hasn't got the recognition yet. They're on their way, and they are very, very good band. But my favorite local band that's still kind of sitting here and the kernel hasn't popped yet, you know what I mean? Is 1152. And they're going to be playing their CD release party at Rascals on April 19th in their new CD. I think is Day After Day or the next something.
I didn't even know about that. I haven't received any kind of a personal invite from Dusty Smith or anything.
You're kidding me. You made him. You made that boy. Yeah, and what this is it's a song that was actually recorded a long time ago on a small EP, from what I understand, and it's been redone, re-recorded. But let me tell you, this band, bar none, is great hooks. The vocals are sweet on there, because you had Dusty singing for you and Marianas. He's got a pretty nice voice.
Yeah, he's got a pretty nice voice.
And the guitars are very cool riffs. The drummer is fucking. I've seen this drummer drum from the side of the stage when 1152 was just starting out, and I didn't know what was going on.
Let me tell you a story about Eric Flores.
Okay.
I was in the basement at Peabody's in downtown Davenport, and this was a coffee shop in downtown Davenport, and there were a number of bands that were practicing in the basement, including Eric Flores' band at the time, with a number of other notables, including Doug Brundy's and Trent Lidholm. And
love Doug Brundy's.
Yep. Their band was called Rive, and Eric was the drummer for that band. And we were down there, and the band Pipe Theory was practicing, which that was Lars Berggren, Dusty Smith, Chris Ermey, my bass player, and Pat Adamson at the time. Justin Farley was the original lead singer for that band, though, by the way. And by the way, the drummer for Pipe Theory was Lars Berggren, and Lars Berggren was fucking awesome. He was really good, man. And they were having band practice down there, and as usual, Lars was destroying the groove. Just awesome. And it was the first time, it was like the first or second time I ever hung out with Eric Flores, and this is how I knew he was going to be a great drummer. It had nothing to do with the way he played drums, and I know this is probably going to sound kind of faggy, and I'm sorry, but me and that dude danced to that music the entire time, and I never missed a fucking beat, and I noticed that he never missed a fucking beat. So I thought to myself, if me and this dude who calls himself a drummer can stand here and dance to this band and never miss a fucking beat, that guy's probably going to be a pretty good drummer.
This is getting really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Let's get, so that's cool.
Isn't that a crazy story, though?
Well, the thing is, he is a great drummer.
He is,
and I'll tell you, so they're playing the 19th, and they're playing with Life and Cycle and Crop Circle. And now Crop Circle's coming out of the woodwork, because they haven't played in a while, have they?
No.
Or have they been?
I think they took a little break for a while, and they've been doing some shows randomly.
Cool. Well, they're going to be on the bill, and Shadowstone is going to be on the bill as well, and that's up there at Rascals. And what you're going to hear is some very, very nice hard rock, melodic rock that's going to make your dick hard and make your old lady horny, possibly. There's something about Dusty's bald head that just drives women crazy.
It's a Jason Statham thing.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the Man on Brown Street. Check it out. This is 1152.
Throwing up again. Tried all night to make it quit, but time has ways of stopping hearts. The spine has holes in it, and where he stays is where I'll sit, and I can wait here all night long. Don't kick yourself around, my friend. Comes around again. Works in circles, so hold your breath and count on him. Comes around again. Time can break your heart. Yeah, we both know that. So go save yourself. The last hero's dead. He's gone forevermore. death on my skin, 'cause I can't stand the flesh I'm in. Time has ways of mending hearts. Too weak to take my hand, too proud to go, no, not just yet. We keep waiting all night long. Don't kick yourself around, my friend, comes around again. Works in circles, but hold your breath and count on him, comes around again. Time can break your heart. Yeah, we both know that. Around, my friend, comes around again. Works in circles, don't hold your breath and count on him, comes around again. Time can break your heart. Yeah, we both know that well. It's gone forevermore.
So there you have it. That's 1152. That was A Man on Brown Street, and that's like I said, one of my favorite bands around here, and as you can tell, why.
It's a great track.
Yeah, but there was another question that we had that was put up here on our Facebook page here, and it was Shannon Chowning. I would like to know what you and the boys think about the state of metal and rock and the lack of respect it gets from the mainstream media.
Oh, man.
Travis?
I was going to say, I don't know that metal really has ever, like true metal has ever really gotten good respect from the mainstream. And it is because I think metal has always specifically been delving into the subjects and imagery that the mainstream wishes to ignore or it try to put out of its mind, like blank its mind out and not think about it, you know? I mean, whether it was stuff that was like, if you go back to the beginnings of metal, you know, you look at Black Sabbath, the whole imagery of Black Sabbath was pretty like occult and, anti-Christian imagery, which was outside of the mainstream, which was pretty Christianized at that point. And as that boundary seemed to kind of wear away, then metal was constantly always trying to find new ways of pushing the limits. I think if metal ever is accepted, it's not serving its purpose anymore. You know what I mean? It's and not to mention the fact that the mainstream media really has sort of dissolved in a lot of ways in favor of the big, the supermassive media, like social media and stuff like that, man. The metalheads are the metalheads, and the people that don't like it don't know about it. They never see it. It isn't on their news feeds. They don't,
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, be thankful that the music that we love isn't mainstream, because if it were, it would be called pop music.
That's right.
Correct.
And when that's the case, see, the reason why we like metal and hard rock is because it's a subculture.
Right.
We don't want to go with the grain. We want to go against it. And as soon as it's
Right.
going with the grain, and that's all they got to do to kill metal is fucking have it on fucking MTV and
Totally.
on 98.9 or whatever.
If
know
you
what I
look,
mean?
I mean, look what happened to Metallica, man. They started coming out with videos, and
That's what I was in love with Metallica when they snubbed their nose. They put their nose up to all mainstream media.
Yep.
And then as soon as you saw the one video and then the Black Album and all that, you realize that nope, it's pop music.
That's over now.
The
It's over
beginning
now.
of Enter Sandman is played at more football games
Totally.
and more basketball
Totally.
games or whatever. And same with Welcome to the Jungle.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The
Yep.
intro to that
Totally.
or whatever is played. It's so mainstream that everybody in America understands that that's, you know, it's a pop.
Yep.
It's a pop music now.
Yeah, it's pop. Yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah.
not going to be at a football game and Seasons of the Abyss comes on. You know what I mean? Or you know, Raining Blood. You know what I mean? It's like before kickoff. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
Well, it was made for outsiders and outcasts.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's tested the bounds of being popular with people want to reference Kiss. Oh, disco. Oh, like I said, Metallica.
Right.
You know, and that's what happened when it got popular or the mainstream.
Yeah. So you don't want that. So be thankful that it's an underground thing, because then, you know, we can still belong to the club.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
Keep it underground. Keep it. You know, when you said what you said, it dawned on me that really what it's all about is keep it tribal knowledge. As long as it's still small, it can still be kind of a tribal thing. We can be a relatively smaller number of individuals that are not, you know, dissolved in some kind of, you know, fucking horrible, you know, movement of brainlessness, you know, where you're not interested in being individuals anymore. And I think that's kind of the thing about metal, why it could never be mainstream, is because it depends too heavily on individualism.
It's still that club that people are proud to be part of.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's...
And I'll tell you what, if you don't like it in the mainstream media, then MDR is definitely not mainstream media. And if you want fucking heavy, Shannon, here you go. This is the Continuance with a Man-Made Destiny. And if you don't like this,
You ain't metal. You ain't metal.
Take
So if you like metal, heavy metal, there you go, buddy.
That was
That's
it.
Continuance. And hey, can you move that mouse back there again? I can't stand to not see what's going on in that audio screen back there.
That blows your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So the Continuance, man, the fucking guitar tone on that thing is ridiculous.
It was crazy because you were air guitaring it over here. We were
Yeah.
like Beavis and Butthead over here. He's over here doing, and I was over here going, you know, and you know, we're in our element over here. But you know, that vocal is so foreign to me. You know, that Jacob Gregory, the singer,
Who is amazing, by the way.
I can't do that. So I have a hard time relating to whatever it fucking takes to make that sound come out of your throat.
Where that comes from?
Yeah, because and I hate to use words like I'm a singer, and he's, you know, and to say that he's not. I'm not saying that. That type of singing to me is more of a vocalist.
Right.
Because to me, what is singing? If you break down what singing means, I would imagine that it means making sounds with your throat that are in some sort of note structure that sounds like music.
I think singing is, yeah. And I mean, my definition doesn't confront that at all, but I think singing would be sustained resonations of the vocal cords in some sort of a rhythmic pattern that fits with music.
Okay,
Says music.
I'm not saying that that's not can't be in that category of singing, but as a purist, when you talk about if you're going to be the old parent, well, they're just yelling. You know what I mean?
I don't think a lot of that sound is vocal cords. I think that's my thing about it, is that the reason why I don't think it really, why I would call him a vocalist rather than a singer, is because I think he's utilizing other physical techniques of the throat and mouth and sinuses in order to get that sound. It's not singing because it's not just purely the vocal cords resonating.
It's still a martial art.
Yeah.
It might be, jujitsu, or you've got all your kinds of different things, but they all do the same thing, which is kick ass.
Yeah,
right?
It's true. Dude, he's a Wu-Tang fucking master of that shit, dude. He's awesome.
Yeah, if I stepped in the ring with him and I was like, well,
and he
went, I think I lose. I'd be like, tap.
I'm out.
Okay, well,
I'm out.
He made him say mate.
Yeah. But if they let it go to the judges, it depends on who the judges are.
Right.
If it's like a bunch of teenage girls, they're probably gonna be like, ooh, that one guy is scary. And I don't know. I'm not sure that he ever shaves or bathes, so
Or babes.
they both kind of look funny.
Yep.
The one guy, I don't know, he's fat and old, but he's saying like, he kind of sound like Maroon 5 if he wanted to. But it's hard to say. Anyway, but I respect that, with the utmost respect.
Sure. I do too. It's not the way I operate, but I'd
love to have him on the show for a bit, at least interview him and ask him how in the fuck he does that. I mean,
that'd be terrific.
I've always wanted to ask a singer like that, because my genre of my bands and them kind of bands usually don't cross paths too often.
Sure.
So I never get a chance to go, how in the fuck, come over here away from the band.
Yeah.
Come in the bathroom with me.
Would you
come in the bathroom for me and show me how you do that with your throat?
And he'd be like, I thought you wanted to do some coke or something.
No. Just say, how do you do that?
Right. Although there are those weird, and these are people that I would characterize as singers who actually can do the thing that Jacob Gregory does, as well as sing, and actually have this weird way of combining the two, so it sounds like they're like screaming a note. I don't know if you've ever heard any of these singers. The first guy that I ever really heard do it was from a band called Meshuggah, which is I think they're a Swedish band. It's like math metal, I'm telling you, it's a really amazing thing to listen to. It is like he sings melodies, but they're screams somehow, but there's a note in there somehow.
Yeah.
I've always just marveled at it. It's
You know
really
who
amazing.
started? Was it Phil Anselmo that started doing that shit to where it was?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think he was the first guy to really like
More
you know,
mainstream guy. That
Well, when
did it,
when
yeah.
Vulgar Display of Power came out, and he had gotten rid of the Rob Halford screams, that he had used on
Which I
Cowboys from
loved.
Hell.
See, I was a
Yeah.
fan of that.
Cowboys from Hell, right?
And it took me a while to subscribe to what was happening after that, only because I couldn't figure out what the hell was happening
Right.
with that screaming.
That fucking second album. I know it's not their second actual album, but that second album that they did with Phil Anselmo, even though it's true, most of the singing was gone, is just so kick-ass.
It's a great
I
record.
listened to that fucking record just endlessly,
You
over
couldn't-
and over. I couldn't
being
stop.
being in a cover band, if you wanted to play Walk,
Yep.
your singer that then had to sing When the Lights Go Down in the City next, and, then all of a sudden this popular song breaks through. It's called Walk, and it's
Right.
by Pantera, and
Right.
everybody wants to fucking hear it.
Right.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden you're on stage and going, well, I've got to be able to do that,
Hey,
and I've
guys.
got to be able to sing,
Can't we just do loving, touching, and squeezing?
hey, let's do Talk Dirty to Me and call it a fucking night, guys. All right?
And we're out.
Yeah, because I even think after a certain moment, Phil Anselmo couldn't really do it
No.
anymore. He
had vocal
blown out.
surgery. Yep.
Yeah, he had
Well, in
blown
each
it
album,
out.
he kept getting gruffer and gruffer.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it properly.
Right.
Yeah.
And apparently he had to have he had nodes on his his vocal cords and all that, and and speaking about singers, last weekend I was sick, and when you're a vocalist, I'm sure that anybody that sings that has to go and sing in front of a room full of people, and I had two pretty high profile gigs, one opening for Bret Michaels, and to me that's high profile because the people that are there are going to be judging whether they want to see our band again.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're going to judge our band by how, if I go up there and suck all night, they're probably gonna be like, well, I suck.
Exactly. They're
So-
not gonna be like, oh, he's probably just having a bad night.
No, and you don't even want to make reference to it the whole time that you're there. You don't want to say, well, I've got a cold, guys.
Right,
Sorry.
no, you don't want to
yeah,
sound like
you
you're
don't-
apologizing, because
right.
then people will be picking up, oh, I heard it.
Yeah, don't be
He
that
does
guy.
have a cold.
And so, you know what I said? And it just shit just hits me when I'm on stage and I'm in the moment. I've never done coke in my life, but I would imagine that being on stage in front of 2,000 people and having a mic, every time I speak into this, it's really loud, and
Right.
everybody goes,
Yeah.
like this, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, well, I apologize. I said something like, I apologize for whatever fucking terrible sound that might come out of my throat in any attempt for me to make some sort of musical note.
Right.
And the reason being is because I was up last night till 6 o'clock in the morning doing drugs and fucking. So, and immediately right there, I was like, that's my way out, man, because they'll buy
Exactly.
that.
That's
If-
right.
If I said, well, I was sick the whole weekend nursing throat coat and honey and all that, they're
No.
like, fuck you.
Exactly. You
pussy.
whiny little fucking puss. You whiny little faggot.
Do you ever
know?
feel silly? Do you ever feel really in the moment? There's times where I've been on stage and I just, all of a sudden the moment just hits me, and all of a sudden all the fakeness is stripped away. But sometimes I can stand there on stage and I'm thinking of my kids and I'm up there in my tight pants singing 80s songs, and I just fall out of the moment, and I have to pull myself back. Brian, you're supposed to be on vacation. Don't think about
Yep.
normal life right now. You live this fantasy for the 3 hours, and then we can go
Yeah.
back home afterwards.
Yeah,
But
right.
sometimes I just feel stupid. I'm like, what am I doing up here?
I've done that. I'd probably say I've done that probably a dozen or two times, where I've, in the middle of a guitar solo and I'm about to play. Oh man, what the fuck, man?
I found myself in the middle
This is
of
dumb.
what was it?
This is just stupid.
Flies in the Vaseline, we are, whatever song that is. And it comes time. I don't think there's a solo in that song, but I made one time.
Yeah.
And that was just sweep arpeggio in and
Yeah.
freaking shred. And people are just looking at me like, this is in the 90s, I'm like, he sucks. He don't even know this song. What is he doing? And it's just because I had built up like, God damn it, God damn it.
Right.
Because at a certain time in the 90s, there were no guitar
No
solos
guitar
anymore.
solos. It was gone.
You had to
Yeah.
force them in there.
Yeah.
Like, here's a Green Day song, and the solo is going to be,
Yep.
no,
Yep.
my solo goes, wow, wow, ding, 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 ding. And it don't even fit, you know what I mean? But
Totally.
I just had to make sure I could still do it,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
And like two chicks in the front were like,
Yeah.
he's horrible. You know.
No, well, the stupid rip at the beginning of my in the lab. You know, I sat for an hour working that thing up. You know,
It's called dick slinging, man. You know what I mean? You got to sling your dick around every once in a while.
You do, you know.
So let me. I'll put this on the show too. I pulled a picture out of when we played Kelly's. There's just like one picture that I just grabbed, a random one, and we could just look at it and we can feel, you know, because this is from the perspective of the band. The pictures were taken by Leo Kelly at the Kelly's thing, and he took a picture of. Are you staring at yourself in the stage? From the stage. So check this out, and we can. And, you know, this is from our perspective. This is what we see. Okay, so let's have a look here. So this is a shot taken from behind me. Obviously, you can see my muffin top and my.
Actually, the first thing I noticed was the chick texting, like right in front of the fucking audience.
You stole my thunder, man. You know, usually when girls do that, I take the phone from them and I just put it in my back pocket, and they really don't know what to do. They're like,
he just took my phone.
Is he gonna keep that?
And then I usually take it and I put it and I act like I'm going to take a picture of my nuts, you know. But anyway, so yeah, and then so this is our perspective. This is what you people look like. Which is, there's nothing wrong with it, because look what I look like.
Hey, I've seen these people this way before. They do look like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's just a small section of the edge of the tent. There's 2,000 people in there. I mean, that tent goes all the way back, so and there's mobs of people in there.
Now,
but
is this Benny Drish that I'm looking at here?
That is Benji Drish, one of my best friends on the face of the planet. I love that guy.
Yep. Is he playing his white RG 550 there?
Yeah,
that he scored at a pawn shop for some ridiculous amount of money, like $125 or something. I was so mad.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our perspective. You know, I had a good time with that guy. I didn't talk between songs hardly at all.
Weird.
I just didn't feel like it.
Okay.
I wanted to it just hit me that I want to seem like that kind of weird, kind of creepy singer that just sings and then like when he's done, walks away from the mic and just let it be quiet. I ain't worried about it.
Weird.
I don't have to say nothing.
Weird.
We'll start when we want. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You know, and then just one time in between songs, I don't know why, I just started singing. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. But I soon, and there's 2,000 people in there, and like there's no sound except for me singing this by myself a cappella.
Right.
Okay.
And then he started doing it like a pirate. Here I go again on me own.
No, and then I realized that this song really doesn't build up into anything that anybody's gonna like. But they started singing it with me.
Really?
That's cool.
You know, and
cool.
There's a long drag. You got to have really good timing. Think about it. Just you. I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. So you're doing this on stage, right?
Yep.
And there's these huge gaps between each line of the fucking song. And I'm up there going, why am I doing this? How do I stop? I don't know. If I just stopped, wouldn't it look stupid? And then pretty soon people started singing with me, though. And I was just trying to kill time because something went wrong on the stage. They were figuring something out with something over here.
Oh, I can hear it.
Yeah.
I've got the whole thing happening.
Yeah, and I'm trying to just do anything. And you've got to be a professional to be able to pull yourself out of that shit. Anyway, we got done with that. I was like, all right, we're going to do this next song. And this somebody over on the one side was like, well, it's about fucking time. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, you're right, man.
Really? Must be an Irish holiday. Here's how fucking pissed off and ready to fight you are over this shit. And I got to go on with the songs of yesterday. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, fucking hurry up.
Well, you got 2,000 people. There's not going to be, 100% of them aren't going to be completely happy with everything that you do. So,
right.
Anyway, with that being said, I thought that was pretty funny to, look at my flat ass. Look at me.
You got no butt in those pants.
Look at that 40-year-old man up there.
And by the way, this thing you got hanging out of your back pocket there, will get you laid down on Credit Island.
Is that what that signifies?
That is what I think that is, man.
Okay, that's cool.
Well, at least in the old days it was. I think now it's the sagging pants.
Is that a bald spot?
Ooh.
On the back of my head?
No, that's part of your skunk stripe.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. You could show me the back of your head right now.
Yeah.
We could find out.
That's bad. Okay. So, you know what? That's pretty much all I wanted. Oh, we wanted to talk about the... If there's anybody listening to this show that's a Iron Maiden or Judas Priest fan, if you like that type of heavy metal... You have to. The next time Rascals has Judas Beast, You have to go to Rascals. I don't care if they charge $10 at the door. Come, because me and Jeff will be there for sure.
Absolutely.
That was the best tribute band I've ever seen in my life.
Just hands down.
Hands down.
Really?
Hands down.
Yep.
Just phenomenal.
3 hours.
Listen, I'm a vocalist. I'm a vocalist, and I was totally like, whatever. This guy is gonna have his work cut out for him, and it's gonna be just somebody that can sing up in the above their falsetto and all that stuff and get through it. The first line he sang, I was like, that is Bruce Dickinson.
Yep.
It was on perfectly.
Really on point.
He sounds just like him, and you know, you might not find that very valuable.
Well, because I think in interview past, I have proclaimed my hatred for
that you wanted to punch him in the throat.
I wanted to punch him in the throat.
Right,
actually.
but for people that do enjoy that type of singing, when the show was over, actually halfway through the show, I was sitting at a table in front of the sound booth, and I was looking. There was probably about 40 people in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there wasn't very many.
And I went, I just paid nothing because Kenny let me in. It was I just paid. It would have been like $5.
Did you fork over some money? Did you give him some money?
No, but I bought a lot of alcohol. You're right. I should have done that. But halfway through the show, I realized that I paid hardly anything that night and drank, basically all night for what are beers, $3 at a bar, and my wife, we could walk around, use the bathroom whenever we want. It's like 10 feet away, and we're sitting here at the table and we're listening to Maiden and Judas Priest songs played as good, if not better, than Iron Maiden and Judas Priest.
Unbelievable, man.
And on the other hand, I remember driving all the way to fucking Chicago, Tinley Park, to go see. And I love Iron Maiden.
Oh, yeah.
And you drive all the way up there. By the time you're there, somebody's farted in the car. The car smells like somebody's fart. Nope, everybody don't like each other. We stopped and had an Italian sandwich. Now everybody's breath stinks, so the fucking car stinks. And we run out of things to talk about, and we're just talking stupid gibberish shit now. Yep. Traffic's all stuck, and we're waiting for an hour to get into the place. And we get into the parking lot. We're like, finally, we can crack a beer. And then the security at the parking lot says, no alcohol allowed. You have to pour your beers out. You can't drink and tailgate out in the parking lot anymore.
Damn it.
They want your ass through the gate, paid, and they want you to pay the $12 for their can of beer inside.
$12.
It was like a 24-ounce can.
24-ounce can,
still
$12.
$12.
That's insane.
A bottle of water, $6.
Yes.
So if you wanted to drink 4 beers, it was going to cost you upwards of $50.
Well, the first time we went, we took Mitch with us, the drummer of Third Rail, and he was like, I'll buy the first round, guys.
That was it.
And he got there.
And he got his wallet out, and he had some cash in his hand.
Yeah.
And he was like, and it was like, what did they end up being, 4 cans?
Yeah.
And he was like, and they said, $75 or something. It was something crazy.
It was cheaper the first time around. They had like $2 and $2.
And he's like, oh, do you take credit cards?
Yeah, right.
No idea, man.
Really?
$12 a can. So, you're walking around, and they open it for you.
Well, thank goodness for that.
That's $6
Thank goodness
right
there's
there.
no fucking cork fee.
And it was slightly chilled.
Yeah, it was it's 150 degrees outside, so they're carrying a cooler around with melted ice. It's just sloshy water.
Well,
with cans bobbing around in there.
This is colder than the nominal body temperature of a human being.
Yes.
I'm detecting 96.3.
Who can afford to go to a concert like that and have a decent time and have, because if you go see a show, you're going to have 3 or 4 beers. Now do the math. You've already paid $80 to see the concert. Mm-hmm. You spent $150 in gas to drive up there, and now you got to pay $12 for a fucking beer.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this doesn't say anything about whether or not when you watch the band that the band delivers on the promise.
You can't even see them from where you're standing, probably. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're watching the jumbo screen going, man, I could be at home watching this on VH1.
Right. Exactly.
I wait till the DVD comes out.
And I could be jacking off.
Did you?
You know what I mean? I could be eating a bowl of Captain Crunch, watching Iron Maiden, and getting head right now.
Exactly.
But instead, I got to stand here and
Did you have like the
sweat?
Did you have the binoculars on the stick? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, oh.
So then you get done with the concert and you try to filter out. Now everybody's drunk, so there's a bunch of jack-offs that are, And at the door, when we walked in, they made me throw away my chain. I had a chain that hooked to my.
What?
Yeah.
Remember, I had a chain wallet.
Would not let it go in.
They made
it was
you
the totally
get rid
girly
of your chain.
and it was the girly gauge chain
What were you
too.
gonna
It
do?
wasn't even like the
You're
manly
gonna strangle somebody? Fucking James
Goes in the
Bond
garbage.
style?
Take it off.
Yep.
They said, here's your options. You either take it back to your car or you throw it in this garbage can.
Right. No.
And I was like, well, we got to walk all the way. I was like,
yeah.
I'm thinking of like $12 for the chain.
And we can't drink out there?
Throw it in the wall, throw it in the trash. You know what I mean? And then after the concert, there was a guy with no shirt on that picked up one of their tables and was carrying a table.
Yeah.
Around. oh, chases him with the fuck. I was like, look, I could have taken him out with my chain wallet and saved everybody.
It's like,
They're worried about that, you know.
Yeah.
Whipped him.
A can of beer could be a weapon.
Yeah,
They're
it
calling
could.
my chain wallet a weapon.
Exactly.
It was just weird.
That's ridiculous.
So anyway, back to my thing. You could go to
little guy.
Rascals.
Yep.
Save yourself all that hassle.
Yep. No, by the way, no, I want to know, you were going to see Iron Maiden?
Yeah.
How was Iron Maiden?
I don't. The first time, see, Iron Maiden's a weird band because they don't give a shit. They're not going to play all their retro shit that everybody knows every tour. What they do is they go out and they say, "This is our new shit. If you don't like it, then come see us next year because next year we'll play all the stuff that you know.
Yep.
This year we're playing our new shit."
Well, that's lame. How are you supposed to know ahead of time whether or not they're fucking
If
playing
you're a
the songs
true
you wanna
Maiden
see?
fan,
And
you know.
Every 2
Really?
years they cycle through.
Yeah.
New, old, new, old.
New,
Oh,
old, new
okay,
old.
so then there is a pattern to
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
It's
so
not like it's
so,
completely fucking
and
random.
I got to be honest, I'm not the true Maiden fan that Jeff would be.
Right,
Jeff
right.
knows all the new stuff,
Yeah.
and so I stood there all most of the time like,
This is
what's
cool.
going on, man?
Should I
When
know
are they-
this song?
When are they going to play Run to the Hills, man?
Right, but I mean, I just never, and you're going to hate me for this, but I just never thought Iron Maiden sounded like metal.
What?
I never thought they sounded like metal, man. I mean, I remember seeing the t-shirts and they just looked so fucking grisly and like the Eddie with the teeth and the claws and, I just thought to myself, oh, this is going to be the heaviest shit of all time. And then I listened to it and it sounded like a fucking opera.
You judge the
come
book.
on.
You judge the book by the cover.
That is exactly what happened, man. I mean, it's the same thing happened with punk rock. I saw punkers, and they just looked so hard, and they had the crazy hair, and
And
they
you
just
heard
looked so
Billy
dusty.
Idol.
Exactly. And then I heard three chord. It was like fucking. Why does this sound like Chuck Berry? You know what I mean?
Maiden-
Why is this?
The first two Maiden albums are almost kind of punk sounding anyway.
Yeah, they were
The
a
very-
punk band to begin
They were
with.
at the very beginning.
Yeah.
The album Killers.
But
which,
Bruce Dickinson, when he came into the band, and the
he did
direction,
the second album. He
the
was on the
direction,
second
third
album.
album.
Third album.
the direction that the music took with
Paul
that
Di'Anno.
operatic vocal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to me, that's where it was for me. I was way into that kind
That's
of
what
vocal.
made it metal.
Yeah, because I could emulate that.
Right.
So I could get in the car and feel cool because I could hit them notes or whatever, and it, to me, that, like we talked about this before,
Yeah.
the soaring vocal. Why
Right.
is that so
Right.
important? You know what I mean?
Right.
To me, I don't know. There's just, for some reason, I relate to that. Like Foreigner, I love Foreigner.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Luke
You know,
Graham is the fucking best, man.
Just vocalists.
Yes.
He's really
obviously
good.
everybody knows I like Sebastian Bach a lot.
yeah. Sebastian
And,
Bach's work was great.
all these kinds of singers that are like this, Bruce Dickinson. When Dream Theater was around, there was definitely two classes. There was people that fucking hated him because of the singer.
Right.
But they're like, the music's cool, but that singer sucks.
Yeah. I remember thinking that.
And I was
remember
like,
thinking that.
I love the singer. I
Yeah.
love
It did
the
not-
singer.
For me,
Did not
that
like-
for me that was King Diamond.
Yeah, right.
The music's awesome.
Which-
Didn't like the singer.
No, and the thing about King Diamond, and I said that I am a King Diamond fan, is that I didn't like his vocals. I thought his vocals were hilarious. That's different. That's like, oh, I like professional wrestling because it's wrestling. I don't like
Right.
professional wrestling because it's wrestling. I like professional wrestling because it's fucking hilarious, man. These
So
dudes
where-
are just fucking going all out, man. It's so crazy.
And then there's the whole there's the Avenged Sevenfold thing, the conversation that happens where people,
Yeah.
when they were a scream band,
There's a lot of kids that like them.
and then now they're the way that M Shadow sings, like since City of Evil and on, like he started singing melodic stuff and not
He
screaming
sounds
as much.
real Hetfieldy now. I mean,
Their new stuff is not for me. I can't relate to it. But there
Their
was a couple
drummer
records
died.
there that I was just in love with Avenged Sevenfold, and the reason why was because they stopped screaming. See, like this Jacob Gregory guy, the
Yeah.
screamer guy that
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
He posted something about that. It was like, Avenged Sevenfold. I like them.
Right.
when they were screamers.
used to be cool.
Used to be cool. Now they suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they've changed their whole thing. And for me, I liked them when they started to, from what he says, suck.
Yeah.
So
If
the
you
melodic singing.
It's
Because
just-
I could sing along with it. I can't go.
But that's everybody in the world with Metallica. You know what I mean? And for me, the day that Metallica was born for most people was the day that Metallica died for me. And it was the same thing. It's just whenever we kind of discussed this before, but whenever an element that you consider to be an element of the purity of something gets changed radically, deleted, augmented, modified in some kind of way that you can't tolerate, it ruins it for you and you're out the game. And unless they bring that back in some way that's believable, like they're not just like pandering to you or whatever by putting it back, then the band is dead to you.
Well, that's the weird thing about music is you you kind of tolerate different forms of it. Now, say for example, you go to the store and you buy a box of Hostess cupcakes, okay? And you love Hostess cupcakes, and you get them home and you open the box, and all of a sudden, they've changed it. Now they're not round, they're square now, and they're all icing and the fillings on top instead, and now, it's a different product.
Yep.
But it's Hostess cupcakes, god damn it.
But you taste it.
Yeah, it doesn't the same ingredients are there, just different variations of it. And that's what you get in music. You have the same ingredients, but they're using different measurements of each ingredient.
I don't think that strikes my point, though. My point is not about whether or not there are elements of the music that can change shape and have it still be acceptable. It's about whether or not the elements that do change shape take it out of the purity of it. If I don't have some big hang up about the squareness of what once was round, let's say in the case of these fucking cupcakes, and I put them in my mouth, they taste the same and they deliver all of the same properties of cupcakes, and nothing else about the aesthetic is different, I think that would probably be fine. But if I taste the thing and it doesn't taste like a fucking cupcake anymore, I'm going to be pissed.
Okay.
I'm going to be mad that I spent my money and I didn't get my fucking cupcakes.
Metallica. Okay?
Metallica, yeah.
Now, and a lot of people say, well, Metallica is this and that. Now, when they did the Black Album, they started to suck. Listen to the real Metallica, which is Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
Okay, that music was completely different than Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
And that's where, to me, Master of Puppets, Ride Lightning, that era was where I fell in love with them. Kill 'Em All, I thought was kind of a joke.
It is. It isn't that particularly good.
It was speed metal. It was so and then when
so raw.
It started to take a mature form on Master of Puppets and Ride Lightning, and that type of stuff.
Well, I mean, they committed the ultimate sin as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of Ozzy, they committed the ultimate sin as far as I'm concerned in lyric writing, and that is to mention the name of your band in the lyrics. You just don't fucking.
We're Metallica.
Yeah, right. You're Metallica. No shit. I read the fucking cover of your fucking record, you moron. Of course I know who the fuck you are. God damn it.
All right.
Now maybe if you could just get on stage and wear your T-shirt that says your name on it too, and then maybe I'll get it. Maybe then I'll realize you're fucking Metallica.
Yeah.
So anyway, that shit kind of fucking wears on my nerves, man.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we should close this fucking show. We've been talking long enough, and thanks for watching Minor Disturbance Radio, and I hope you guys dig it. And comment away. Tell your friends about it. Say, hey, if you've got some free time, if you go to work and they let you listen to an MP3 player, listen to one of our episodes. I guarantee you, it's gonna make 2 hours go by like that. And we appreciate you listening. And come back next time. We got plenty to talk about. Trust me. So. We're gonna leave you with. I want to play another local band as we're going out here, and this is 9th Street Memory, and this is actually a band that their bass player is my cousin.
Oh,
really? Dustin.
So this is nepotism.
Dustin Minor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is a bass player, and my father's side was separated from me a long time ago, and whatever happens in families, but Dustin Minor, he's a musician, and he's younger than me. He probably doesn't know of me much, but. It's kind of interesting to see that there's another minor that's musically inclined, even though he is a bass player, which isn't really truly a musician to me. But, I kid. Anyway, but these guys are pretty cool. It's 9th Street Memory, and we hope you dig it. And come back next time for episode 14. We'll see you.
Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.